What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Mucho. And we're back with another day, another Bible reading, day 4. Alright? Genesis. What is it? Genesis. I forgot already. Genesis 10 to 12. 10 to 12. Alright? So let's begin. Disposition of the human family. Along with this account of Noah's own sin and that of his son, Ham, the Genesis record, also shows mankind's continued decadence as it forces upon the now regenerating human family in the plane of Shinar, an area for more familiar known as Babylon. Somewhere around 2500 BC, the people ambitiously decided to build a great city known as Babel. Babel. Together with a tower so high that in the figurative terms in which to the heavens, this is by no means the first city ever to be built, and the tower itself is probably designed in a very familiar fashion to the Babylonian ziggurat temples, the ruins of which will still be found centuries later. But God is displeased with these grandiose plans, apparently because the people's motive is characterized by a defense of self-assertive pride and rebellion against God. In the light of this situation, God determines to remain mankind once again of their human limitations. Until this time, everyone has been part of one rapidly multiplying extended family, and therefore everyone has been speaking the same language. In order to break the self-willed strength found in this unity, God intervenes with his creative and divine power to confuse their language and to scatter mankind throughout the earth. It is the beginning not only of diverse languages, but also diverse people. For the first time, mankind is divided into clans, nations, and even various ethnic stocks. Although the Genesis record makes no specific reference to this regard, it is possible that this supernatural event also sets in motion the separation of the human beings into different races, and the implication would be significant despite the external differences. There is a commonness of background in which compels brotherhood by creation and equality among all mankind, regardless of race, nation, or tongue. Commonness of mankind. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there, planned to build a city. They said to each other, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone, and tar for more, I can't even say it, mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Altitude displeases God. Attitude displeases God. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." Language confused. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them all over the face of the whole earth. Beginning of nations. As mankind begins to disperse throughout the earth, families began to divide into clans, and the clans developed into nations. The earliest known account of the geographical nation and dialectical divisions among the human family is contained in the Genesis record. This tabulation begins with Shem, Ham, and Japheth, 3 generations before the great division at Babel. In this record, there is first of all a brief tracing of Japheth's 7 sons and 7 grandsons, particularly the descendants through Japheth's son Javan, whose people began to spread north to the coastal areas of the Caspian, Black, and Mediterranean seas. The reference to the Japheths may be as brief as it became. These Indo-Europeans will be among the latest to develop and will have the least contact with the theocratic concerns of the Hebrew people, upon who the biblical text will soon focus. The Table of Nations gives more attention to the descendants of Ham, perhaps because they will develop early and be founders of the first empires, and perhaps also because it is with these people that the Hebrew nation will have both its closest association and of its conflicts. Ham's descendants will settle in the warmer climates of the southern portions of the earth and will pollute the Egyptian, Canaanite, and Arabian nations. Of particular note among Ham's descendants, it is the great warrior Nimrod, who is the first leader of record to establish a monarchy. His rule over seven tribes, a pure leader of record to establish seven tribes apparently comes to the power of conquest, and not because he is their natural particular head. It is Nimrod who establishes Babylon from the city of Babel in the southern Mesopotamia, and later the city of Nineveh, I don't know, further north of Assyria. Of great historical significance is the record of Ham's descendants through Canaan, Ham's son, upon who Noah pronounced a curse. The land which will eventually be occupied by the Canaanites is known as the land of Canaan, or more modernly Israel. It is original Canaanite inhabitants, including the Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites, will come into conflict with the descendants of Shem, particularly those of the Hebrew nation. That conflict bearing out the prophetic nature of Noah's curse on Canaan will continue even through the modern times. As for Shem's descendants, the table of nations concentrates on the lineage throughout Shem's son Arphaxad. Wow, these names are something else. The principal reason undoubtedly lies in the theological significance of the descendants through Arphaxad. It is through his branch of the Shemites that after 8 generations the father of the Hebrew nation, Abraham, will come, and the Shemites later will be known as Shemites, will intentionally settle primarily in the region of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and I can't even. I remember how to say this, but I can't even say this. Euphrates River. From the earliest Shemite descendants will eventually come to the Shirans, Assyrians, Joktanite, Arabs, and most importantly the Hebrews. Nations from Noah's sons. This is an account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, who themselves had sons after the flood. Descendants of Japheth. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Repaha, and Togama. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarashisha, and Kittites, and the Rondanites. From these, the maritime people spread out into the territories by their clans, with their nations, each with their own language. Descendants of Ham. The sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush: Seba, Havilah, Sabbath, Ramah, and Sabtika. And the sons of Ramah: Sheba and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Urk, Akkad, and Kalana, and Shinar. from the land, he went to Azariah, where he built Neviah, Rehoboth, Kala, and Reason, which is between the Navah and Kala, which is the great city. Egypt was the father of Ladites, Anamites, Lehabites, Naphatahites, Pathrustis, Kashala. I can't even say these names. Kashalates, from whom the Philistines came, and Cataphrasti, I don't know. Canaan was the father of Sidad, his firstborn, and of Hittites, Jebustes, Armotes, Girgates, Hivites, Archites, Sintis, Arvandites, Zemartites, and Hamatites. Later the Canaanite clans scattered, and the border of Canaan reached from Sidad toward Gerar as far as Gaza, and then toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans and languages, and their territories and nations, descendants of Shem. Sons were also born to Shem in order, and whose older brother was Jared. Shem was an ancestor of all the sons Eber, and the sons of Shem, Elam, Ashar, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Uz, Hul, Ether, and Meshach. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. The two sons born to Eber, one was Peleg, because in his time the earth was divided. His brother was named Joktan. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Shelephath, Hazaramarpheth, Jerath, Hadaram, Uzal, Dekala, Abel, Abimel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jabab. All these were sons of Joktan. The region where they lived stretched from Mish towards Shephar in the eastern hills country. These are the sons of Shem by their clans and languages, and in their territories and nations. People dispersed. These are the clans of Noah's sons, accordingly to their lines of descent, with their nations. From these the nations spread out over the earth after the flood. Descendants from Shem to Abraham. Following this tabulation of the nations, the Genesis record falls mostly silent upon the earth inhabitants, except from the descendants of Shem through Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, and others down to Abram, who are known for Abraham will become the father of the Hebrews. This is the family of promise, through whom God will preserve religious and moral truth. It will be through the Hebrew nation that God will ultimately speak to the whole world. Therefore, it is important for the Genesis record to trace Abraham's ancestry back to Shem, who, though his father Noah, descends from the first man, Adam. Shem, this is the account of Shem's family line. Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad, and after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. Shelah, when Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. Eber, when Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. Peleg, when Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, he lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. Ru, when Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Ru. And after he became the father of Ru, Peleg lived 209 years and he had other sons and daughters. Shirag, when Ru had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Ru lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. Nahor, when Shirug lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And after he became the father of Nahor, Shirug lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. Terah, after Nahor lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. Abram, Nahor, and Haran, after Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. It is interesting to observe in this account that there is a gradual decline in the longevity of Shem's descendants. Shem himself will live for 600 years, but by the time of Abram, the typical age of death is about 200 years. Also noteworthy is that the fact that the first child is born much earlier than ever before, except for Shem and Abram. Most of the men in this lineage are in their 30s when their first son is born. The combined result of earlier longevity and now decreasing lifespans is that there is a surprising few links in the chain for Adam to Abram. Adam had lived beyond Methuselah's birth, and Methuselah was still living when Shem was born, assuming that Abram was not Terah's firstborn son, but as the other scripture seems to indicate, was born when Terah was 130 years old. Shem will predecease Abram by only 25 years. So the ties between Adam and Abram in the first 2,000 years from creation are indeed close ones. The Genesis record pauses briefly at the point to give a special account of Terah's family, including in the account is an introduction to Abram's nephew, Lot, who will become the central character in the events to follow. equally significant is the fact that Abram's wife, I'll just call it Shari, has not yet given birth to a child. Amidst a culture in which the woman's role in bearing child, especially sons, is of vital importance. Shari's barrenness will take on increased significance. Of major importance at this point is the record of Terah's journey from Ur of the Chaldeans located where the south of the lower Euphrates to the city of Haran, some 600 miles north. Taking Abram, Sarai, and Lot, Terah sets out from Ur toward the land of Canaan by the route of the Fertile Crescent, which would bypass the Arabian desert. Why Terah leaves Ur is a matter of some speculation as far as the Genesis record is concerned. Later, Scripture provides a more complete answer when it records that Abram and presumably Terah were directed by God to leave Ur for the land that God would show them. Therefore, this account of Terah and his journey to Haran is important in that it is set the stage for a more significant journey for Abram in a fulfilling the purpose that God has in mind. Terah. This is the account of Terah's family line. Lot born, Haran dies. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor takes wives. Abram and Nahor both married. The names of Abram's wife was Shari, and the name of Nahor's wife was Mika. And she was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Mika and Iscah. Now Shari was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah moves family to Haran. Terah took his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Shari, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out for Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan, but they came to Haran. They settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and then he died in Haran. Job, the righteous sufferer. Although there is no scriptural reference to Job during this period of time, there is compelling evidence to believe that an important historical figure named Job should be included here among the ancients. His home is the land of Uz, which is probably in the northern Arabian desert, in territory which will become known as Edom or Idumah. Job is usually blessed with prosperity and holds his family very dear to him. Above all things, Job is a righteous man, esteemed among his peers and even those who serve him. However, disaster strikes Job when all his flocks, herds, and possessions are taken from him through a series of advertisees. Even worse, all his children were killed, and he himself was stricken with a terrible, painful disease. Although he questions why such disasters should beset him, Job nevertheless maintains his faith in God. As a result, his wealth is restored to double its original worth. More children are born to him, and he dies a happy man. The story of his great faith and his apparently successful struggle with the reason for his suffering will be handed down over the generations to come. Several centuries later, at a time when the whole nation will be struggling with the problem of suffering, Job's life will become the basis for a literary masterpiece dealing with suffering and the issue of its cause. Little does this humble man know how his very personal adversity will be a source to comfort to multitudes of fellow sufferers of centuries to come. That fact alone might well have something to do with why he is called upon to experience such adversity. The book of Job will be presented later at the time of its writing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was day 4. Oh man, sorry, my neck is so sore, really sore. Reflect. Let's reflect. There's a lot of sons. I obviously struggle to say the names of the sons, the wives, and some of these cities. It's very difficult. It's like a tongue twister, almost like, damn. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't have much to say about today's reading. Besides the fact that there's too many names. Like, obviously there's people who will remember all this, and I've yet to meet someone like that, but if I do meet somebody who knows all these people's names by heart, like, I will be super impressed, because damn. These are a lot of names to remember. Coming from a family line, it's like they say, throughout time, they started having children at an earlier age, and they started dying younger. So the curse is upon their family. But yeah. But other than that, I have nothing to say. I guess this is something I just need to think over for myself. Alright, well, that's today's reading. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry for my illiteracy. I'm trying better, so hopefully throughout time, I'll get better at reading this. Alright? Thank you guys for watching. You already know who it is. It's your boy, Mucho. And it's time for me to skedaddle on out of here. Peace.